It's Weather Wagers time. We are back here. A new month is upon us. I am merely Brett Thackara.
And hello, everyone. I'm Dan Tomaso. Brett, great to see you back sitting here. We're in the recording studio.
It's nice to be back.
Here we are.
I was in my man cave last week with the podcast, and it just wasn't the same. Although, listen, content creation is content creation. We had to get that out.
Well,
and it was a good episode.
And by the way, you said in the beginning of the episode, I was joking about your winnings and hitting it big in Vegas. You had your best week, and we'll talk about that in a little bit in terms of picks. I believe so.
I was 500. I had one of my better weeks, but I will tell you, we are both floating above 500,
and against a tough slate last week.
That's where that in and of itself, the fact that we are still several weeks into the season and we're both above 500 is great stuff. So listen, again, Weather Wagers is everywhere you want to be, okay? We are on YouTube, and we want to get people over there to watch too. We're on the ABC 27 News Plus app. You can download it on your smart TV. I just put it on my Samsung this week because we've added that recently.
Yes, we have added that.
And we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're on Amazon. We are everywhere you want to be. And so here we sit, and it's a new week, and we're going to start this week off by talking about the Penn State Nittany Lions because, we're a couple of days late on this. We wanted to – you've got the tie on for those that are listening and not watching. Dan's got the tie on, but – everybody talked about the fallout of this Saturday night and Sunday.
Well, I mean, what, 10 million people watched, I saw? Is that correct?
We had 8.5 million, 8.8 million,
That's
something
crazy.
like that. And then
that is a huge number.
10 million watched the Alabama-Georgia game. That means, almost 20 million people are watching college football.
Right.
And that's pretty impressive stuff. So, yeah, it was one of the two big games over the weekend. But, Dan, the fallout came fast and furious.
Sure.
A lot of emotions involved with this, and rightfully so. This was Penn State's biggest game of the year up to this point. And
it still may be the biggest.
We know what the narrative has been, and we're going to get into all of this. But, one of the things that we will talk about here in just a bit is we've had a few days to let this settle, and we are going to talk about the emotions of this here in just a little bit. And one of the things that I think you and I need to talk about as we look at some of the pictures here from the weekend is James Franklin. Where are we at with coach? Where are we at with the quarterback? Where are we at with the offense? And quite frankly, where are we at just in terms of this program? Where does this program go from here? And you and I had a couple of different takes on it. Now, I just want to let our audience know sort of what we've talked about privately, what I've talked about with my friends and family and, as a Penn State alum, right? I have been one of the biggest defenders of James Franklin's tenure at Penn State. I love the guy. I think he's terrific. We talked on this podcast about how when he first arrived, he was recruiting in New Jersey. My uncle was an athletic director, and he was meeting with him, and he said, my nephew's a Penn Stater. Franklin took his cell phone, my uncle's cell phone, called me up. We had a chat. And he said,
out of the blue.
It's out of the blue. It's going to take all of us. And, people can look at that. That's where you get your Coach Rah-Rah from or your snake oil salesman. He didn't have to do that.
Well,
to
and
me,
at that time, keep in mind what we were coming out of.
Correct.
We were coming out of a devastating scandal.
He was very genuine, though. And
yeah.
I think that – so I love what he's been able to do. And he's been very, very consistent. As was Paterno, by the way, pretty consistent. He had a couple of down years. So did Franklin coming around the COVID years. The man has been very consistent. But
and he built up this program into the modern era, which is a critical fact.
Correct.
Because let's face it, the 08 team was fantastic for Paterno, but there was this massive gap, even amongst Big Ten teams, compared to how we were doing and how we were doing it.
Let me frame this up with, before I get into my hot take or my read on this. After the game, there were images released, and we've got one of them, right? Franklin and Aller looked just completely stunned. Let's show that. And they just looked lost. And I think that's pretty much how the fan base felt on Saturday night. And we can talk about the X's and O's of it, but the reality of it is you bring back an entire offensive unit, you bring in two highly paid coordinators, one off of the national championship team.
Mm-hmm.
You've wanted facilities upgrades. You've wanted buy-in from the administration. All of that you have. You have the senior leadership on the team capable of doing this. You have the coordinators you want because money's not an option now. You have the whiteout game at night, which you want. It was not a big noon game. You have the opponent you want, a top 10 opponent. An opponent, by the way, that had a very good season last year but lost a lot. And they brought in a lot with the transfer portal, but they lost a lot. First-year starting quarterback coming into this environment. Everything favored Penn State, including Vegas, by the way. And for 3 quarters of that game, it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal to watch. Your senior quarterback looked lost. Your OC didn't look like he knew how to call a play. Oregon looked like they were the more prepared team coming into that environment. They had a way to do the snap count non-verbally. And I think then you tease us by coming back in the 4th and still find another heartbreaking way to lose in front of 100,000 people that, quite frankly, are getting a little tired of showing up to these things and having the same result happen 10 years in a row. And I know that you're going to make a lot of defensive points here, points that I made for the last 10 years. But I think at some point, either it has to change or maybe it is time for a new voice.
So I want to preface this, as I did with the Phillies conversation we had a couple weeks ago, that I am disappointed. So don't get this wrong. I am disappointed. I don't like losing as much as the next person. However, I think before everyone jumps off a bridge, let's consider the comeback. Let's consider that the offense did figure some things out. Now, it took way too long, as we just mentioned, as Brett just talked about. But I think in general, there's a lot to work with here, and the season's not over. I think part of what went wrong here in this game is the soft schedule leading up to this huge moment, because I don't care what anyone says. The 1-0 thing, Franklin can repeat it all he wants. Everyone was looking forward to this game, and the pressure was on, and there just wasn't enough there in the first 3 quarters to make things in rhythm, to get things going. Now, with that said, we mentioned on the difficulties of the offense, but I think in my time of watching Penn State, that was one of the best and most dominant defensive performances I've seen, because this is one of the best offenses in the country. And I was skeptical that Jim Knowles could make such a difference. But I was totally impressed Saturday night that other than a fumble that was returned by Penn State and then overturned in the end from a commercial break that we didn't get much information from, which irritates me too. I think there was a way to win that game. It was in front of us. And at the end of the day, you can harp on Franklin all you want. They were in double overtime. That's when your players have to make plays. I mean, they were in a position to go up by a score. They had just intercepted the 2-point conversion for Oregon. You score, you get to the 2-point conversion. Everyone's singing the alma mater happily. You beat one of the best teams in the nation at home. It was there until it wasn't.
But here's the deal, though. Your senior 5-star quarterback has ended the last 3 big games with an interception.
And I've mentioned this countless times off air.
You cannot have that. And I don't think, and here's the reality facing the program. You say the season's not over. With the quarterback play that we have, I think it pretty much is, because he has not shown growth or development that would lead me to believe that he can handle those big moments, especially given the fact that the last 3 games have all ended the same way.
But and the story's not totally written yet. I mean, you got to give the kid a chance to prove it again. And that's what you're going to have to do.
I mean, it would be one heck of a comeback story, but I don't see it happening. I mean, sometimes
you didn't see the Phillies coming back against the Mets after they got swept by 3 games either.
I realize that, but the Phillies are pro athletes, and this, unfortunately, sometimes you are who you are. And when you talk about James Franklin, again, let's not take criticism away here. I thought it was a terrible decision to punt the ball from Oregon's 36-yard line. That is when you want to be aggressive. You're in front of your home crowd. You can't punt the ball away there. And what happened? Oregon came right down the field and scored. I thought that was a playing not to lose instead of a playing to win call, especially when your field goal kicker made a 49-yarder earlier in the night. Also, Aller drops a long pass to Hudson, was it? In the that's what got us to 17-10.
Ross.
Excuse me.
Devontae Ross.
That's right. And where was that in the first half? Nothing like that seemed to be being called. And so when your quarterback plays better when he's behind, that's also a bit of a problem. And so when I've watched the offense for 3 games. We knew there was problems. Anybody that said it was magically going to get better in the big game, or that they were laying down, or that they weren't trying in the first game, that's just wrong too. This offense is not going to beat Indiana, and it is not going to beat Ohio State as it is today. Now, I may feel differently if we work on some things against UCLA and Northwestern, and if we can go to Kinnick and put up points and win. I may come around on that. But the offense that I saw Saturday night is not winning. It's not beating Ohio State, who has the best defense in the country, mind you, and has a pretty good offense too. And you got to go on the road there. We don't win those games. We don't win those games. And if Indiana's still a top 10 team, again, we don't win those games. And that is it's no longer, well, maybe if this happens, or no, we don't win those games. You can talk about the officiating. A weird thing happened. Any other team that doesn't get overturned. I don't know what it is. Some of it's on the head coach. Some of it's on the OC. Some of it's on the players. Some of it's just on the aura that's around the program. It's not happening. Yeah, we're not. It's not happening.
I think with the fan base and specifically Twitter, X, whatever, I think fails to realize is every year is different. And I know there's a history here, but these are different kids. This is a different team for the most part. And when you cycle out 3 wide receivers and try to fix it in an offseason where you don't get to practice very much, you don't get to necessarily get in that rhythm, especially when your schedule's soft to begin with, and you don't have Tyler Warren. I've said this to a few people, and they actually agree with me. I wonder if Tyler Warren makes that play in overtime and it doesn't get intercepted, because a lot of the time he was blocking out defenders, boxing out guys, and if there was an off-target throw or if there was a mistake in the play, he made up for it.
But why is there an off-target throw with a senior 5-star quarterback?
Well, they knew the play. I mean, we now know after the fact that Oregon read the play, which is making a football type of play, and that's what I keep saying.
But
someone needs to step up.
Yeah, the ball never should have been thrown. And then if you don't want to put it, if you're unhappy with my take and you don't want to put it all on the quarterback, where's the running game?
Right. Well, that's
where's the O-line?
That's my greatest
O-line
disappointment in this season is where's this offensive line that, again, was ballyhooed to start out this season, which, again, these are 20, 21-year-old kids, and you don't think having media attention and being told you're great.
They're
and
pro
being
athletes,
awesome,
Dan. They get paid, okay?
I don't buy that.
Well,
I really
you don't have to buy
that.
it, but that's the fact. Because they're getting paid.
Well, but clearly, they are listening to the media, because even the coaches are saying we need to get out of Happy Valley for a little bit.
Well, I think that's best for everybody because, again, you let 100,000 people down in a massive way for the umpteenth time. And I'm sorry, the natives are getting restless. And what I mean by that is I don't think that there's still a majority of people that want to get rid of Franklin, because I think they know how precarious that is. I really do. But my point is, if Franklin decides, I've had enough of this. I mean, I win 10 or 11 games a year. I took you to the semifinals last year. Every time I lose a game like this, which he does, that is a fact, and he admitted that. It's not a narrative. It's a fact. So
I'm not denying that.
So then the toxicity begins. Maybe he decides if the Florida job opens up, he'd rather go. And you know what? My point is, if he decides that, I can't blame him, and maybe a reset is best. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to ride with the man. I really am. But if he decides to leave because every one of these games becomes toxic afterward with the fan base, maybe it's best.
So if you get over the hump with, let's say they win one game this year between Indiana and Ohio State.
I'm not sure we're in, by the way.
Oh, I think we are.
If we beat Ohio State,
I think you're giving way too much credit to the field, because the field's going to cannibalize itself. We see it every year in the SEC. We see it every year in the Big Ten. There's going to be a loss no one expects.
We may have 3 or 4 ourselves, so I'm just not sure that that's going to happen, because I don't think that offense is good enough.
Well, let me just say this. So going back to last year, Andy Koldenicki's worst game was Ohio State at home. This year it appears like it's going to be Oregon at home. It will
probably be Ohio State on the road.
The other games, the offense did not lose the game. I just want to put that out there to everybody. I know there's this narrative that the offense has lost the game with Andy Koldenicki at the helm. I don't see that. I mean, again, last year, the semifinal was extremely competitive. We belonged in that game. The 2 games leading up to the semifinal, the offense was pretty dominant overall. So I just want to reset everyone's thinking that this never happens or we never see the offense take over a game, because other than Ohio State under this man, it has worked.
Well, fair to a point. But then we go back to the senior quarterback that hasn't been developed properly.
Well, or he's just not making the plays in the moment. We don't know what practice looks like. We don't know what's going on behind
No, but we
closed
do know
doors.
what games against big opponents look like.
Yeah.
I don't really care what practice looks like.
But go back to the Oregon game last year. Everyone says that was his best game. So again,
yeah, but he threw a pick at the end.
Sure, but
he threw a pick at the end this time. He threw a pick in the
Notre
Dame game.
What did I say to you last week? You air the ball out, things can happen.
Yeah.
And so people that want, the run and gun and airing it out, just everyone be aware. It can happen.
Well, listen, the other topic I wanted to get to is the Eagles. We're going to save them when we talk about the Eagles because that is one of our games of the week. But right now, we do want to go to our recap. We've been recapping our thoughts and emotions against the Penn State Oregon game. Dan, I think you have a very good measured take. Mine is more of an emotional take. That seems to be the road we're on with the Phillies and with Penn State, and that's fine. And I think probably the fan base like us is split down the middle, and we don't disagree on that much. But I do not. I think to win 10 games this year is going to be a real royal struggle. I went 5-5, as I mentioned. You had a bad week, I'm sorry to say, 3-7. That helps, though, because I'm getting closer to you. Good Wake Forest pick. Good pick.
I was going to say the spread is what really hurt me this week. I picked some correct results. It's just the spread didn't work out. This one did. Wake Forest covered. Georgia Tech's, you want to talk about slow-moving offense, applauding offense. Watch a Georgia Tech game. It can test your patience.
Yes, it can, but they are undefeated, and they did sneak by.
They're finding ways, which, by the way, I will say this, too. I want to be on record of saying this. I don't care if the offense isn't pretty. Score 20 to 30 points a game. You're going to win a lot with this defense that Penn State has.
And then Georgia, I don't want to say they laid an egg. They had a very competitive game, but Alabama got the better of them, much like James Franklin.
They had an early lead.
James Franklin has a top 10 problem. Kirby has an Alabama problem. And, as we look at this result, I want to just ask you, which team now should we look at as the favorite in the SEC?
Because, I don't know.
well, hold on a second. I want to pose this question to you. Georgia now has lost, and they struggled against Tennessee.
Yes, they did.
LSU now has lost, okay? Is Alabama the best team in the SEC, or are we forgetting about somebody?
I can't trust them. That's the problem I have. I mean, it just seems like you want to talk about a coach with no consistency. Kalen DeBoer in his first year plus has been pretty inconsistent.
Tell you the numbers bear out, though. He's very consistent against top 10 programs, and he's very consistent against Georgia. It's the games against lower competition.
The
Florida
South
States
Carolina.
that we didn't know, the Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
They have a big game this week against Vanderbilt.
They do.
In Tuscaloosa, though, I think that helps. If we're not going to put Alabama up there, and by the way, I think right now they're playing like one of the better teams.
Right. But you can't get that Florida State game out of your head. That's the problem.
It did happen.
Yep.
Vanderbilt is undefeated. They're playing really good football. How about Ole Miss? Let me put them up there.
I mean, I think Lane, is this finally the year for Lane? Another coach, though, by the way, that struggles in the big one.
He does, and he failed to make the playoff last year, too, because of it.
Yep.
And, you talk about James Franklin and his issues. Look at who we're playing this week. We're flying out to LA. Do you think UCLA would love to have James Franklin as its coach?
I think a lot of programs would.
And so that's why, again, I think cautioning everybody saying,
this is all in Franklin, right?
I don't think that's right, and I'm not advocating that, too. I like the man. I like him as a coach. We'll see what the rest of the year comes up. And then, by the way, Tony Rojas is injured now. He's
next man up.
Well, but again, we are very weak and thin at linebacker.
Yeah, and this is where, by the way,
the season could be going off the rails here.
Oh, I doubt that. But the coordinator changeover that has happened because we've been a good team affects recruiting and affects bringing in kids because guess what? Kids can go anywhere they want now, and when somebody leaves and they follow. But by the way, that's why you have a transfer portal. And Amari Campbell, if you didn't watch his game closely,
we needed him.
I mean,
Big
my
game.
Goodness.
Yeah, let's give him
my goodness.
He won the day, even though we didn't win the game.
Yep.
That kid came in from North Carolina and looks great.
He didn't want to play for Bill Belichick.
No. So other results from last week, I did pick Oregon because, again, I've seen the script, and I will happily take that check mark, even though I would have been.
Yeah, but you were smart to take the money line, weren't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, but they, yes. But they won either way, so I would have been happy. But I knew they were going to win because that's the script, Daniel, although I would have been happy with an X. I doubted the Eagles again.
Yes, you did, to your own detriment. Now, the Eagles had their fair share of struggles. They also are having trouble up front because some guys are banged up and the running game is not the same as last year. It's just always amazing to me how the two teams I watch Saturday and Sunday tend to parallel each other. And Jalen really struggled in the second half, and there's been some questions. Did he sustain a head injury during the game? He took a vicious hit in the first half and didn't look the same after it. I don't know.
I think I parse Penn State more than I go over the Eagles with a fine-tooth comb. And when people say, well, how good is Penn State? My answer is I think we could lose 3 or 4 games with that offense. I think it stinks. I think it really stinks. People are saying that about the Eagles, and that was the question I wanted to ask you at the beginning. It was kind of our second topic. How good are the Eagles? With them, I'm taking a broader approach, and I'm saying, did you see the schedule we had to play in these first 4 games? Though?
Yeah.
In these first 4 games.
Coming off a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, we found different ways to win. Defensive plays, special teams has been big. Jalen has still made plays. Listen, I think you're in the NFL. You're 4-0. You're a pretty darn good football team.
Well,
so I think they're very good.
They're very good.
I doubted them a few times and lost.
They're very good, and the division is not. So I think that's another big factor here, that they could get out to a pretty big lead and even let up a little bit. But we have the Broncos this week, which we'll talk about. So it doesn't get much easier on this Sunday. It's a little bit easier,
all right,
but not much.
Let's fly through the rest here because, again, we want to recap. And, boy, I got the Giants. They finally did win one at home, and your Chargers couldn't get it done. Did they find an answer at quarterback quickly?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, we're going to find out this week. Got the over on the Jets-Dolphins. I knew it was too low. Happy about that.
Jets 0-4.
Yeah, I mean, you picked the Jets, Dan. I don't have any sympathy for you there. Vandy did not get the cover, but they still put up 35 points and won. My best bets last week, TCU laid an egg. They're another team that let me down and lost to Arizona State. But fellas, and let's bring in Dave Shiner. He doubted me again on an over. Notre Dame almost got it by themselves.
Well, yeah, they almost got it by themselves, but Arkansas didn't really put up too many points. So, my thought process was right. But I did say, hey, you can get these over-unders. I yet again, bow down to,
hold on a second.
To Brett
Swami
here.
over here.
Hold on a second. Do you boys hear that? In the distance, I hear a motorcycle. I
just can't believe it's
He's
2025 and
back.
he's going to be a head coach on a Saturday.
He is back.
Ridiculous, but hey,
Yeah.
And he keeps coming back to this podcast.
Well, that's
the year we started this.
We just
were
can't
worried
quit
about
him,
and
huh?
Jimbo.
Vroom. Well, by the way, it was his offense that only put up 13
Correct.
points.
Very true.
So,
Very true.
Let's
Yeah.
temper
Sam
expectations.
Pittman's the fall guy.
I know. Love Sam. I
Yep.
hope he goes. I wish.
I'd replace him with Phil Troutwine. I'll tell you what.
Let Sammy come up and coach our O-line.
That's what I mean.
And I do like Phil, but there's been some questions this year, and the Lions, of course, got it done. Dan, Louisville pulled it out.
Yep.
Now,
That's a team to watch.
These next 2 results, again, is the Big Ten sort of like the SEC? There's too many teams, too many games. USC goes on the road, loses to an Illinois team
Yes, they did.
that Indiana smacked. Did that surprise you?
It surprised me greatly, but it shows you it's week to week.
And Indiana goes to Kinnick.
Yes, and somehow, some way, squeaks
and
it
it was
out.
competitive.
It was very competitive. So again, for everyone that thinks the season's over, let's play the games.
Well, I think our national title hopes are over. 27.
Well, I never thought we had them anyway, but that's a different story.
27 and 25 for me. I am riding on being 2 games over 500. You're 4 games, so it's tight.
It's tight, and this is a tough slate this week. Very tough slate.
And speaking of that, let's get into it. It's time for
Games of the Week.
There we go.
We got to see
And
James again, and
Yeah.
he's still hurting.
He is, but as he said, it's a good week to get out of town. All right, we have games and we have weather, and we're going to start in Florida because we've actually got 2 Florida games on the big board, Dan. Texas and Steve Sarkisian goes to what might be Billy Napier's last game in the Swamp. That is at 3:30 on ESPN, and then the big one at night on ABC, Miami at Florida State. There was a little bit of controversy here because, again, game day is going to Vandy, Alabama. But Florida State didn't help their cause because they lost last Friday night.
Correct. So obviously there's a lot of play there. I find it so interesting that this Texas line is 7. Because, again, has Texas inspired any type of confidence? I know you don't like our quarterback, but I think the natives are restless about a very ballyhooed recruit that has a big last name.
We've talked about our quarterback's not the only one struggling. Kate
Right.
Klubnik, Arch Manning, DJ Lagway, both quarterbacks.
Nussmeier and LSU.
Nussmeier, correct. So, listen, it isn't just us, and I think that's a fair point, too, and fans have to remember that. UNLV at Wyoming, things get weird in Laramie, and the weather's going to get weird.
And that's a hot coach right now for UNLV, isn't it?
Dan Mullen. I bet Florida wants to have him back, and they ran him out of town.
Yes,
By the way,
they did.
Dan, talk about the setup here for Florida, because both of these games, again, you've got a 3:30 kick in Gainesville, and then you've got the evening kick in Tallahassee.
This is the wet season in Florida, so all bets are off. It's humid, it's hot, and there's even talk of a potential tropical wave coming across the state here in the next couple of days. So, it may not be raining the entire time for a game, but all it takes is one thunderstorm, and they are around. But we like to say the word scattered in the weather department. Definitely scattered storms.
Look at this.
This onshore flow is real coming in from the East Coast. So Tallahassee, Gainesville dealing with wind. I don't think these games will come down to field goals personally, but still something to watch.
Something to watch indeed. And again, maybe some lightning down there Saturday and a bit
Obviously,
of a breeze.
delay could neutralize some things.
Let's talk about Laramie, because Laramie's got another system setting up.
It's October in Wyoming.
And that is never pretty. And I think they're going to get wet.
They're going to get wet, and I think it's going to be breezy. There's a low coming across the Rockies, and look at that temperature drop.
By the end of
40s.
that game, it's going to be chilly, and the winds too. That's going to be a problem here. I wanted to show the winds in Laramie. I guess I don't have it, but the next item up for bids, of course, is going
NFL
to be
slate.
The NFL slate. Now, weather is a problem here in the NFL in that we couldn't find much, but the Florida thing is real, and so that's why we went with Monday Night Football. Same type of a forecast in Jacksonville.
Something to watch.
That's going to be something to watch because, again, Dan, it's that season in Florida.
Well, and anything that seems to go the Chiefs' way right now is a struggle. So does weather kind of neutralize their offense a little bit?
Broncos and Eagles, we picked that one because it is a big game. The Eagles are favored by 3.5, and then the Buccaneers.
Sunny and gorgeous for that one, at least.
I think so. They go to Seattle, and the Seahawks are favored by 3.5. And we picked that one because it's an interesting game. But that's
a rough take for the Bucs to come off of that game with the Eagles, a very physical game, and then travel to the Pacific Northwest and play in their place.
My thoughts exactly.
Yep.
Jacksonville on Monday is going to have some showers. It's going to be near 80 degrees, but here's game time. I mean, it's the same forecast as what we saw in Gainesville and Tallahassee.
A little bit rough.
It's Florida, and then you can see here.
There's the winds for Jacksonville.
There's the wind. I don't think the wind is going to be a factor, but I do think off and on showers and storms might be. And I blew out the other graphic, but my apologies. Laramie, Wyoming is going to be not only rainy, it is windy.
It is windy.
10 to 20 miles an hour Saturday night. Dan Mullen is, if he's used to the Mississippi State and Florida weather,
total opposite.
This is going to be a little different. Now, I also wanted to point out, and this is where I want Mr. Shiner to pull up this tweet. We didn't talk about this game because I don't care about it because it's in London. But
and it's early.
For those of you wagering on this game, first of all, it's the Vikings and the Browns in London. If the NFL wants people to care, this isn't the way to do it.
This isn't the way to do it.
But Jason Logan that works at Covers, I saw one of his tweets here. It said this UK game could see wind gusting to 37 miles an hour. Awfully specific forecast there. Partially covered Hotspur Stadium, one of my favorite stadiums in England, by the way. And it is going to blow from west-northwest from end to end. The wind does go down inside the field and into the lower section. So that is good to note. But basically what he's saying there is the winds are going to have an impact, and that may be a game you may want to take the under.
Yeah, and by the way, J.J. McCarthy's looked rough and change a quarterback for the Browns, so you might want to take the under regardless of the weather.
Let's get to our picks for our games of the week, and we start again with the college games. Dan, I like the under for Texas and Florida because of the weather. I think if rain reaches Gainesville, and also both offenses have struggled, and we've seen both defenses sort of be the best unit on the team. Texas's defense has been good. Billy Napier's defense has been good. Both have quarterbacks that are struggling. Now, 41.5 is a low number.
It's low.
But given the weather, I'm going to chance it here. I've been hitting on these. I'm not as confident on this, but I'm also, could Florida spring a weird upset here? I think it's possible.
I think it's very possible.
And you're not taking the number.
I'm not taking the number because I think that's, again, a high number, 7-point advantage. Texas seems high for a team that absolutely has to win if they have any hope of keeping their coach, keeping their season alive. It's desperation time in Gainesville. No
doubt about it. Dan Mullen has UNLV off to a very hot start, but a wise old coach who's no longer with us, unfortunately. That would be the great Mike Leach. One of his famous quotes was, "Weird things happen in Laramie." And while I didn't have the guts to take Wyoming money line, I will take them to cover. And I'm going to take 3.5 at home.
Interesting. I like UNLV. I like Dan Mullen. His stock is rising. And even if UNLV can't get to the promised land, he might have a new job to get there.
Well, and then the big one, Miami, Florida State. So many wide rights, wide lefts over the years with Bobby Bowden and his teams. Give me Miami here. I think Miami is the real deal this year. I think they get it done. I'm going to lay the 4 points.
Well, so we talked about Penn State's track record in big games. I'm not impressed with Mario Cristobal in big games myself. So
well, he did beat Notre Dame.
They did beat Notre Dame, but Notre Dame may not be what we thought they were either. Florida State, I take to win, and I think this is the win Mike Norvell needs this season. Otherwise, his name's going to get mentioned.
Well, he did beat Alabama, Dan. I mean, I think he's just
but
fine.
It's what have you done for me lately, and this is a rivalry game.
It is, and it's going to be a good one. Broncos at Eagles. I like the Eagles to cover here at home. I think the Broncos coming off a short week and also coming across the country. All the Eagles do is win. They've covered. This is the week, I believe, and watch me get screwed.
Eagles keep finding a way to win. I see this being a pretty close game. I think Fangio's defense is going to do tremendous work as usual.
Big Phillies fan. Fangio,
yes, I mean, he keeps mentioning magic numbers and stats about the Phillies to open his defensive press conferences. Again, he likes to toy with the media too, which I appreciate. The Eagles, I think, win on a field goal, so 3.5 is a little rich to me.
All right, I do like it. We both have the Seahawks. You're going to lay the points. I'm just going to take a money line. The Buccaneers play these tight, close games a lot. They're a good team, so but again, I think
good
the travel. And I think going out to Seattle, they're going to lose. But I don't know if they will lose by that much.
Well, and not having Mike Evans right now is a big deal for that offense. I'm not sure what that franchise is doing on offense. Baker Mayfield is good enough, but they don't have much of a running game. And outside of Mike Evans, I mean, they have Ibuka, which is obviously a name many Penn State fans are aware of. I just don't see enough on their offense.
And we both like the Chiefs to cover here. Any weather factors, though, with that in Jacksonville?
Sure.
But does that favor the Jags at all? We don't think so.
I don't think so, just because Liam Cohen, this whole experiment with the man from Clemson that made a name for himself. I don't know what they're doing either. There's so many teams right now in the NFL that just look lost. They're one of them.
Yeah, and again, this is the product. And I'm sorry, if anybody says that the NFL is better than college football, I don't.
You're not watching closely enough.
No. All right, it is time to go under the radar.
Under the radar.
This is a game I picked just for you because you were so hot on this podcast, in a good way, on Rocco Becht, Iowa State. They remain undefeated, but don't look now. Scott Satterfield is Cincinnati right there. And this is an interesting line. Iowa State has to go to Cincinnati. This is a noon kick on the Deuce. 1.5. The over-under is 55. The weather should be lovely. Can Cincinnati get this done, or do you still like your boys in red and gold?
I still like the Cyclones. Now, they're probably due for a loss because they've won some tight games. But I think this is where you have an advantage if you have a difficult schedule leading into a game like this, because now your team knows how to win.
Well, I think it's very interesting, but I also think the Big 12 is full of surprises every year, and this may be one of those
full
games.
of mediocrity. You say surprises, I say mediocrity.
That's what I think about Penn State's offense. All right, let's get to my best bets of the week.
Time now for Brett's Best.
All right, Dan. I think I'm going with all the favorites here this week. You didn't look at these yet.
I didn't. I haven't seen them.
We don't talk about this, but I'm going to pick the big noon game, Wisconsin at Michigan. Does anything, again, we think we have it bad. Does anything about Wisconsin inspire you?
No.
This just feels like a game where Michigan, you saw what they did to Nebraska, right? And I think Nebraska is better than Wisconsin.
And Michigan's one of these Big Ten teams that when it comes to playoff time, do they find a way to sneak in?
Well, and I don't even know about that. I don't know if Michigan's that good, but I know they're better than...
They're physical.
I think they're better than Nebraska, but I think Nebraska is way better than Wisconsin. There's no reason not to lay the 17 here, right?
Well, I don't think so. I just... What can Wisconsin hang their hat on? Not much.
No, and I wonder if Luke Fickell survives because they have a brutal schedule coming up too. Virginia at Louisville. Now, this is a tough spot for Virginia. And this, by the way, let me talk about Virginia for a second. This is one of those teams too. How can Virginia go and upset a top 10 team and we can't?
Well, overtime kind of evens the score, doesn't it?
Well, but I'm just saying they got it done. James Franklin can't. Tony Elliott did. Now, I don't know what Tony Elliott's final record is going to be.
Right, correct. We don't know that yet.
It seems pretty easy for other teams to play these top 10 teams to victories. We can't do it, and that's why fans are upset. So But having said that, now I think they come back to reality.
Yeah, this is going to be a big emotional letdown type of situation.
Bingo. And they go to Louisville, who I also think is a good team, coached by Jeff Brum. That's 330 on the deuce.
That's a pretty big spread.
It is, but I think Louisville's ready for it.
Okay.
And then the Bills take on the Patriots, but it's at home. It's Sunday night. The Bills play their best early in the season. It's an 8-point spread, which is big in the NFL. I'm laying it, baby.
What is wrong with the Patriots franchise?
Never thought you'd say that 5-10 years ago.
I know, but it's just fallen off a cliff.
Don't forget, too, in college this week, just an aside, and then it's time for your dandies. Dabo Swinney goes on the road to play Bill Belichick this week. If you love to torture yourself, you can watch it.
I'm not watching it.
All right, time for those dandies.
It's Doppler Dandies.
You know, it's funny you bring up that Clemson North Carolina game. I looked at it as a possible dandy candidate. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
You're picking tonight's game,
Well,
Thursday night if you're listening.
This is, unfortunately for NFL fans, I think this is the best game of the weekend. And it's not the weekend.
Hold on, though, because you put this into our graphics machine that we use, and the Rams were a 7-point favorite. But this morning, because Brock Purdy might not play or is not playing, they're now an 8.5-point favorite.
Well, the reason why I picked this is because you got to start thinking ahead now if you're an Eagles fan, because 4-0, who's your real competition in the NFC? Out of the West, it could be the 49ers or the Rams. I think the Rams are in a better situation. So this could be a big win for them to get against a divisional opponent, a conference opponent, but it's a big number.
And it's on Prime tonight, and it should be an interesting one. Vanderbilt at Alabama. Everybody wants to know, can Vandy do it again? This is the 3:30 SEC game on ABC. They have to go to Tuscaloosa this year.
They have to go to Tuscaloosa, but this feels like a game DeBoer might struggle to get his team up for. I'm just saying I don't trust the man yet with this team. It's something to watch because Diego Pavia is a sensation.
And he doesn't lose a lot,
No,
I will
he doesn't.
say. And Clark Lee, too, an alumni of Vanderbilt, back coaching them. Really good coach. Mississippi State goes on the road, almost a battle of the undefeateds, but they dropped one to Tennessee last week. They go to Kyle Field. Texas A&M now 14 and a hook. That has changed today as well. 7:45 on the SEC network. Is Texas A&M the real deal?
This is a big spread for them to cover against a pretty decent team because that Mississippi State game was on bleeding into the Penn State game. And that also went to overtime, I believe.
But I will tell you, too, Mike Elko looks like he's got a quarterback.
I know.
And
I agree.
I wish we had a guy like that, quarterbacking our team. All right, it's time to wrap up the final picks.
Final picks.
Now, we're not wrapping up the podcast just yet, though, because we are going to talk some Major League Baseball playoffs in a second. But these are our picks here for the week, and it's going to be fun to see because we've been hovering above 500. Can we do it again? The games get tougher. I am picking the under at Texas and Florida, and you're going money line.
I'm going money line. Texas needs this
the
win.
Longhorns, yeah.
Wyoming,
weird things happen in Laramie. Don't say you didn't hear it here
no,
first.
I know, and weather is a factor.
So we're going head-to-head on that one because you're picking Dan Mullen and the Rebels of UNLV. We're also going head-to-head on the big Miami-Florida State game. I think Miami takes this one fairly easily. And I'm going to lay the 4 points, and you say not so fast, my friend.
I say not so fast. Florida State at home. They need a signature win like this, and I think this is their opportunity.
We essentially agree on the Eagles and the Seahawks. I'm going to lay the points. You like the Eagles' money line. I like the Seahawks' money line. You're going to lay those points. We both like the Chiefs to get the job done. Now, here we're picking differently. We didn't really say this, but our under-the-radar game, I like Cincinnati to cover at home.
Which doesn't mean they win.
No, that would mean they win because they're favored.
That's true. But I think Iowa State is the better team. I think it's a difficult environment. I think it's a difficult game for them, but they've also proven to me so far they've won some pretty good matchups.
Michigan, I'm laying those points. I think Virginia comes down to earth. I'm laying the 6.5 with Louisville, and I like the Bills to get it done on Sunday Night Football. There's no reason not to pick the Rams tonight either, right?
Yeah, and now that if I would have known about the Purdy situation leading into yesterday when I made these picks, probably would have picked them to cover. Vandy, I think they at least make it a close game. I don't know if they win, but I think they make it a close game.
10.5 is a big number.
It's a big game. Yeah, big number, big game.
You've been saying that, and you were right about Wake Forest last week because that was a big number. And then, but another big number is Texas A&M 14.5 against a fairly scrappy Mississippi State team.
And the only reason why I did this was because Mississippi State just came off that heartbreaker an exhausting game. I think it's going to be hard to get back up again.
All right, let's shift our gears to baseball. We have a few minutes left, and before we get to the forecast, listen, the Phillies now know their opponent. It is the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Made mincemeat of the Reds.
Yeah, probably not a surprise, right? But the Phillies had a scrimmage last evening. 31,000 plus came out to see these bad boys play some baseball. Listen, this is where we had hoped to be. We won the division. We won 96 games, probably the best the Phillies have looked at the end of a season, throughout these playoff runs the last 3 years or so. The bracket, though, has some interesting teams in it, and all of the rest of the teams are battling today to see who survives.
It's been quite the slate here for this wild card week,
including the famous Yankees and Red Sox rivalry. As we look at the Phillies, though, and they didn't light the world on fire the last couple of weeks offensively, but the fans are nervous that the bats are going to go cold again because that has seemingly been our biggest problem. Although last year the bullpen had a complete meltdown in the playoffs. What favors the Phillies heading into this Red October that could make things different?
I think just the consistent play down the stretch, getting Trey Turner back, and if he's healthy, I think will be huge. I think Bryce Harper played more games this season. He appears to be mostly healthy. He had a home run in that scrimmage, by the way, against Walker Buehler. I think this is the year that this is the last time this group will likely stay together. I think they're on a mission because what's been the expression so far? How many more, Topper? And I won't repeat the phrase, but they keep going back to this, that they know what's ahead of them.
Shiner, what do you like about this team that maybe is different than the previous couple of years?
I believe it's the Schwarbombs. I think, although, we all kind of thought he was going to end the season on a big uptick. And
didn't break the record.
Didn't break the record. In fact, he went kind of 0 on home runs there at the end of the season, those last 3 games. But these guys play the biggest in the biggest stage, and I really think the way he's had this season has been special. I think Bryce getting that homer in the scrimmage the other day against Buehler's a big deal. So showing that, and we were texting saying like, keep those bats warm, keep them warm, because the big knock on all this playoff setup is the fact that there's this big lull if you do have the bye, and it could be 2 days, it could be 7, depending on how it all sets up. So I really think the bats will come alive. Obviously, we would love to have Wheeler in that bullpen and able to get us a start or two, but I don't know. I just keep coming back to I think this team they're special and they have a lot of camaraderie, and the guys that we brought in at the trade deadline have been the ones making the most effect on the game. Your Bader and your
Duran.
Duran obviously has been a little shaky down the stretch, but
Stott,
let's
Marsh,
do it. Yeah,
those guys have been good too. They've stepped up too.
Exactly.
Even
It's
Bowman
a deep
times.
lineup right
Even
now.
Bowman times. But fellas, hold on, because we're almost out of time. But I have to ask this: the Phillies started pre-playoffs as the favorite to win the World Series. The Dodgers are now the favorite.
Well, they got a better sample size now, unfortunately.
But
although
listen,
I'll say ESPN, they were showing all the pundits and their picks, and I believe I think it was over 75% of them chose the Phillies to win the World Series, knowing that they're going against LA.
Well, but this is going to be a monster series, and
It's a shame it's happening now. I wish this was the NLCS.
I know,
Yeah.
but how can we trust these boys with their bats?
I think
Gotta
Citizens
believe.
Bank Park.
Yeah, I do
Bedlam
think the home
at
field
the bank.
advantage to start will help.
That's
Are
a
there
big thing.
any hidden concerns though we should be?
Oh, sure.
Name a couple.
I mean, if Crister Sanchez goes short in the first start because they just saw him. I mean, again, we just saw the Dodgers, so there's not going to be a whole lot of secrets behind this team. But if any starter goes short, especially at the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the series, that's going to affect the bullpen for the rest of the series. So if you want a script to win, Sanchez goes 6 or 7, gives up 2, maybe 3 runs, keeps you in the game, and then you turn over the bullpen. But if he only goes 3 or 4 and you turn over the bullpen in game 1, that could spiral.
I have a concern. Aaron Nola.
Well, hopefully we don't have to use him very much.
Topper said he's using him.
No, I know, but that's game 4. You have 3 games before that, hopefully. So that plays into what I just said. If for some reason game 1 goes haywire, and then you stretch it out to game 4 plus, that's again the recipe for playing into the Dodgers' hand.
Shiner, quick concern from you. Anything?
I think it's kind of what Dan was saying, the starters, how long they're going to go.
Playoffs are weird like that.
Who we use out of the bullpen, too, in what
be Ranger.
regard, because,
Could be.
Yeah, and I mean, have they penciled in Lazaro officially as a starter? Is he going to be a middle innings guy? Same with
They're keeping
Bueller,
it tight to the vest, which I appreciate.
Which I think it plays in our favor because you never know quite what's coming, and you can work on matchups. But the pitching is the quote unquote concern. Obviously,
the data does show, by the way, for anyone wondering, that the Dodgers are a better team facing right-handed pitching versus left-handed pitching. So we may have a slight advantage there.
And we did beat the Dodgers for the season series. That's why we're hosting the series, by
Correct.
the way. And let's talk about that. It's going to be a beautiful weekend at Citizens Bank. The games are Saturday night, and we know that it's either 6:08 or 6:38.
Quick point about that. Shadows should not be in play.
Okay, yeah, because now listen, it's going to be warm. It's going to be like summertime baseball, less so like October baseball. And then the second game in Philly is Monday night. Also looks dry. Also looks nice. They're not going to have a problem with these games in Philly, both Saturday night and Monday night. And here is the schedule, by the way. The next three is Saturday. We know all of these games are on TBS. If you're trying to find them on your dial, 6:08, 6:38. Dan, you don't like any announcers. Then game 2 is Monday, TBD on TBS. And then game 3 is out in L.A. That's next Wednesday, TBD on TBS.
TBD on TBS.
Yes. So not a fan of the TBS crew?
I just feel like there's a lot of anti-Philly on that crew, but that's
you
just
always
my
think
opinion.
that, and I
I'm
think
tired of Braves guys getting announcing jobs. Can we cut
Ditto.
off the Braves?
Yeah, it's like listening to Cowboys on Eagles games.
Yes.
Which we do
Bingo.
as well.
I like Troy Aikman. I think he's fair, but I will say you don't have to worry about the Braves. They've got rid of Snitker.
Well, that's true. That is true.
He's vice president of Paperclips
and then there's
now,
a perfect example of baseball is unpredictable. I did not see that season coming for the Braves.
No. So let me show you where you can find us again. New episodes Thursdays. That's a wrap for this week. Listen, Dan and I are floating above 500 with our picks. We can't wait to see how Red October pins. And I hope we have more than one series to talk about. Who would you prefer to play next if we win?
Oh, boy. I mean,
Padres?
I think I would play the Cubs. The Cubs do not intimidate me very much. The Padres, there's history there. And the Brewers, I mean, they could come out stone cold or they could come out red hot. It's hard to know. One final question for you. Do the Nittany Lions go out to L.A. and cover?
No.
So they continue their stretch of not covering.
Correct.
Okay.
I think they win hopefully easily, but the
24.5's big.
The travel and just the emotions of the past week. No, again, if they do and the offense looks magically different, I know UCLA's bad. We've played lower teams and the offense hasn't looked good. If they can fix it in a week, I'll be more than optimistic. But I think it's been tough. It's going to be fun to see how the Nittany Lions evolve. It's going to be fun to see how you and I do in these picks. And Red October's here, baby.
Red October's here. Listen, absorb it, enjoy it. This is a special Phillies team. I can't emphasize it enough. And I said this last night, from the time I was a kid to now, the change in this franchise has been anything short of remarkable. I mean, it is just unbelievable the position they're in.
To that end, and I will end here, but I think between the way that Penn State handles its business most of the time, even with all the heartbreak and the disappointment, between what the Eagles have been able to do, 2 Super Bowls in the last decade and still going, and what the Phillies have done with their organization, no matter what.
It's a special
and we
time.
won it all. We won it all. There's no doubt about it. But we have to cherish this time because
You never know what's around the corner.
We've seen a lot of bad football and we've seen a lot of bad baseball.
All of a sudden, Ryan Howard tore his Achilles and the history of the franchise changed for a few years.
Indeed. Here's to Red October. Everybody enjoy the games this weekend. We'll see you back here next week. Weather wagers out.
Let's go, Phils.